Commanders Nation, we've got a scorcher for you today. Big roster rumors, a potential free agent signing that could shake up the entire offensive line, and some serious film room truth bombs that are about to change the way you look at one of the most talked about plays of this entire preseason. Buckle up, because there is a lot to unpack. And before we even get started, if you're new to this channel, hit that subscribe button right now. We are chasing 2,000 subscribers here, and every single one of you watching has the power to help us cross that finish line. All right, let's get into it. Let's start with the center position. Because, folks, this might be the single biggest question mark on the entire Washington Commanders roster heading into the regular season. And it's not just fans and analysts sounding the alarm anymore. It's Dan Quinn himself. After the preseason loss to the Detroit Lions, Quinn was asked directly about the offensive line. And his answer about the center spot was about as far from a vote of confidence as you can get. He basically admitted the team has real work to do to figure out where they want to land at that position. When your own head coach is standing at a podium saying something like that out loud, on the record, that is not coach speak. That is a legitimate red flag being waved for everyone to see. And honestly, the tape backs it up completely. The current first-team center simply did not perform well in that game against Detroit. He gave up multiple pressures right up the middle, struggled mightily to diagnose and pick up stunts and twists that Detroit's defensive front threw at him, and frankly, looked like he was playing a different level of football than everybody else out there on that field. This isn't a minor nitpick. This is a starting NFL offensive lineman getting exposed in real time. In a game that matters for roster evaluation purposes, just weeks before the regular season kicks off. So if not him, then who? Well, that's where things get even murkier. Another interior lineman who had actually looked solid at center in the very first preseason game barely saw any center reps at all in this second contest. Instead, he was almost exclusively lined up at guard. And that tells you everything you need to know about how the coaching staff currently views him. If they truly believed he was a legitimate option to start at center, why would they be moving him away from that spot during this critical evaluation window? The answer seems pretty clear. This team sees him more as versatile depth, a valuable swing piece who can fill in at guard or center in a pinch, rather than the long-term answer in the middle of that offensive line. And then there's the name Commanders fans have been anxiously tracking for weeks now, a veteran interior lineman who's dealing with a lingering injury and simply hasn't been able to get on the practice field. Now, there is some cautious optimism that he could return to practice relatively soon, which is obviously good news on its face. But here's the problem, and it's a big one. Every single day he spends sidelined is a day he's not building chemistry with Jayden Daniels. And if we've learned anything from watching this organization over the past year, it's that these kinds of position-specific relationships matter enormously. Remember the chemistry-building process fans watched play out with Terry McLaurin last season? That took real, consistent practice reps together. You simply cannot fake that kind of on-field trust and timing. If this veteran center truly is the long-term plan at that position, a limited number of practice snaps with the starting quarterback before Week 1 is a legitimately concerning situation. So, naturally, the conversation turns to outside options. And there's one name that keeps coming up again and again, a well-traveled veteran center who spent years as the anchor of a highly successful, high-powered offensive line up in Detroit. And here's why this name makes so much sense for Washington specifically. This player was the starting center in a system built by the same offensive mind who's now shaping this Commanders offense in that exact same image. We're talking more under center concepts, heavier zone running principles, all the classic staples of that particular offensive philosophy. This isn't some random speculative fit. This is a player who has literally lived and thrived inside the exact scheme Washington is currently trying to install. Yes, he's dealt with some injury issues over the past couple of seasons, and yes, his play has dipped somewhat since his peak years, which is part of the reason he's currently a free agent with no team. But given the desperation at this specific position, And given how seamlessly his skill set and experience would translate into what Washington is building offensively, this feels like about as logical a fit as you're going to find on the open market right now. And here's the juicy part. It sounds like this feeling might actually be mutual. During a recent live stream, a Commanders fan reportedly suggested this veteran center should sign with Washington, and his response was refreshingly open. He essentially said he'd entertain a call if the team reached out. On top of that, a well-connected reporter who covers this team closely publicly encouraged the front office to go get this guy. And the player himself reportedly liked that very post. Now look, in the world of social media, a like isn't a signed contract. But it's also not nothing. It's a signal. It's smoke. And when you combine that smoke with an obvious, gaping organizational need at a critical position, you have to wonder why Washington's front office hasn't already picked up the phone. Because let's be real here, this need at center hasn't just popped up overnight. This has been a lingering concern for multiple months now, dating all the way back through free agency and into training camp. And so far, this front office appears to have put virtually all of its eggs in one basket, banking on a single veteran to be healthy, get up to speed, and lock down the job. All while alternative in-house options have failed to seize the opportunity in front of them during these preseason evaluation windows. At what point does it become time to hedge that bet with outside reinforcement? Honestly, it's hard to see the downside of making a call here. Worst case, you've got added competition and depth heading into final roster cuts. Best case, you've solved one of the most glaring question marks on this entire roster before the games start counting for real. Okay, quick pause here because I promised you guys extensive coverage, and I mean it. This channel is committed to bringing you daily practice reports, deep film breakdowns after every single game, and the very latest roster buzz all season long. So if you want to stay locked in on every twist and turn of this center situation, and honestly everything else happening with this Commanders roster, hit that subscribe button right now. We are working hard to hit 2,000 subscribers on this channel, and every single person watching this video is one tap away from helping us get there. Seriously, it takes 2 seconds, and it means the world to a channel like this one. Okay, let's shift gears into the film room, because there's a story here that the casual fan watching in real time almost certainly got wrong. You've probably already seen the clip. It went viral, especially among rival fan bases having a field day online. The second-year linebacker getting blocked up on that touchdown run by Detroit's backup quarterback, with a tight end appearing to get the better of him on the edge. On the surface, in real time, it looks bad. It looks like a young, high-drafted linebacker getting bullied at the point of attack. But here's where actually going back and grinding the coach's film changes the entire story. Because when you slow it down and look at assignment responsibility, that gap simply was not this linebacker's responsibility to fill in the first place. Here's what actually happened. On that zone read look, it was actually the rookie edge rusher's job to stay disciplined and account for the quarterback keeping the football himself. Instead, he crashed down hard on the running back, essentially taking himself out of the play the moment the quarterback pulled the ball. And look, that's an understandable mistake in a vacuum, but it's a costly one, especially against a quarterback with a track record of being able to create with his legs when the defense guesses wrong. On top of that, the film shows a veteran safety completely blowing his run fit on that same play, aggressively flowing toward the opposite side of the formation and essentially taking himself fully out of position to help. That combination, the edge rusher crashing down incorrectly and the safety getting lost entirely, is what created the wide-open running lane that turned into a touchdown. Not the young linebacker getting physically dominated by a blocker. Now, to be fair, there is a legitimate critique buried in there. This linebacker did struggle to shed that block from the tight end when it mattered, and that's worth noting. But give credit where it's due. The tight end made a genuinely good block. The larger point here is that the viral moment, the one that got this young defender's name trending for all the wrong reasons, wasn't actually about him being out of position or making a bad read. It's simply not an accurate reflection of what actually happened on that specific play. That said, let's be balanced here, because this isn't about pretending everything is perfect. Zooming out beyond that one viral play, this rookie linebacker has shown some genuine rookie growing pains through these first two preseason outings. He hasn't looked totally comfortable in space, and he hasn't been generating a ton of splash highlight reel plays yet. But here's the important context that often gets lost in the social media pile-on. Linebacker is widely considered one of the single hardest positions in all of professional football to master quickly. It's mentioned in the same breath as quarterback in terms of the mental processing speed required. And just like we see rookie quarterbacks typically struggle before eventually developing into the players we expected them to become, the same growth curve applies here. There's real reason for optimism given the athletic upside and the football intelligence this player has flashed. It just might not fully show up on tape in year one. Is he going to need to become one of the elite linebackers in the entire league to justify being drafted as high as he was? Absolutely. That's the standard that comes with that draft capital. But the idea that he's already a bust after two preseason games, largely built around a play that wasn't even his fault, that's simply a lazy surface-level narrative that doesn't hold up once you actually watch the coach's tape. There's also a really underrated storyline developing at running back that deserves way more attention than it's getting. One particular ball carrier landed on a lot of losers lists after this Detroit game purely based on the box score, but when you actually re-watch the film, the story looks a whole lot different. This wasn't a case of a running back failing to make plays. This was a case of an offensive line simply not blocking anything up for him whatsoever. And despite that lack of support, this back was still fighting through contact, breaking tackles, and squeezing out extra yardage that frankly wasn't easily available. He's not going to blow anybody away with elite top-end speed or flashy explosiveness. That's simply not his game. But what he does bring to the table is exactly the kind of tough. Between the tackle's vision and physicality that translates into consistent 4, 5, and 6-yard gains, the unglamorous, chain-moving plays that quietly keep an offense on schedule. If this team suffers any kind of lingering injury at the running back position this season, there should be real confidence in throwing this player into the rotation on early downs. And finally, let's talk about a veteran safety whose preseason stock is trending in a genuinely worrying direction. Beyond the earlier mistake on that viral touchdown play where he was completely lost within his run-fit responsibility, this player has reportedly shown a number of additional instances of poor positioning on film along with missed tackles in the open field. For a player who was considered a serviceable starter in this same defense just one season ago, that kind of noticeable regression is a real problem. And when you consider the sheer amount of competition currently swirling around the safety room, with one veteran continuing to be a steady, reliable presence, another young defensive back racking up interceptions throughout the preseason, plus additional playmakers and special teams standouts all pushing for spots, it's genuinely fair to wonder whether there's enough room on this roster for him at all. The preseason finale against Baltimore, along with the joint practice sessions leading up to it, might be an absolute must-perform situation for this veteran if he wants to stick around. So there you have it. Commanders faithful, a center position that desperately needs a resolution one way or another, a potential veteran free agent signing that could be one phone call away, and a film room reality check that flips the script on one of this preseason's most viral, most misunderstood plays. There's a lot of moving pieces here as this roster inches closer and closer to final cuts, and you can bet we are going to be tracking every single development as it happens. If you found this breakdown valuable, do me a huge favor, smash that like button. It genuinely helps this channel grow more than you'd think. Drop a comment down below and let me know your take. Should the Commanders be picking up the phone for that veteran center right now? And is the Sonny style slander finally starting to die down after seeing the real film breakdown? Let me know. And most importantly, if you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button. We are on a mission to reach 2,000 subscribers on this channel, and every single one of you watching has the power to help us get there faster. More daily practice reports, more film breakdowns, more roster news, all of it is coming, and I don't want you to miss a single second of it. So subscribe now, and until next time, Commanders fans, hail to the Commanders.